Coming to you live from WSU, I am Brian Fantana.
And I am Ron Burgundy.
Today we will be discussing the current laws and policies that protect individuals from being impacted negatively by genomic testing, focusing on the laws that are currently in place that protect individuals from discrimination with insurance companies and employers. Also, we will focus on the laws that limit genetic testing and research.
Since genomics is growing exponentially in our world today, it is important for healthcare professionals to be aware of the complications and benefits to genomic testing and research. Being able to use genomic research to help patients and prevent the misuse of genetic technologies and information is trivial.
Why is legislation needed, you ask? Let's close the gap in knowledge. Here is a few points stating why legislation was signed to help protect nurses and patients. Based on genetic information, employers may try to avoid hiring workers because they believe that they may take more sick leaves, resign, or retire early due to health reasons. Some employers may seek to use genetic testing to discriminate against workers even though they may not show signs of the disease, because employers fear the cost consequence. Insurers can still use genetic information in the individual market in decisions about coverage, enrollment, and premiums. Penalties in HIPAA for discrimination and disclosure violations should be strengthened in order to ensure individuals' protections afforded by legislation.
Wonderful, Brian Fantana.
Thank you.
Increased genetic testing makes it more likely that researchers will come up with early life-saving therapy for a wide range of diseases with hereditary links. Genetic testing can also help doctors catch problems early, perhaps leading to preventative treatment and lower costs. Genetic testing laws and regulations are important in healthcare because nurses need to explain genetic testing to patients. Also, to protect ourselves as nurses, we all know HIPAA.
And that is where we will begin. HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act, was enacted by the United States Congress and signed by President Bill Clinton in 1996. HIPAA is extremely strict and highly enforced to protect patient security. In simplest terms, HIPAA addresses the security and privacy of health data.
At the state level, there are two laws that have been passed: the privacy and research issues and the employment non-discrimination.
We will start with the Employment Non-Discrimination, RCW. In Washington State, a person, firm, corporation, or Washington State may not require an employee to submit genetic information or submit genetic screening. This protects the individual from being discriminated against the genetic test results. Thus, this will aid the improvement of genetic testing and research, benefiting the future health status of our state and country.
RCW, privacy issues, research issues. In Washington State, a healthcare provider may not disclose healthcare information, including a patient's DNA and identified sequence of chemical base pairs about a patient to any other person without that patient's written authorization, even with research data. This, like HIPAA, protects the patient from discrimination and other negative outcomes from this information being disclosed.
Yes, on top of that, Washington State laws, GINA was signed in May 2008. GINA protects Americans from being discriminated against information derived from genetic tests. There's too much scribbling. This forbids insurance companies from discriminating. In addition, insurers and employers are not allowed under law to request or demand genetic tests.
Research is expanding in personalized medicine, direct-to-consumer marketing of genetic tests, genetic testing and counseling, informed consent, fairness in the use of genetic information by insurers, employers, courts, schools, adoption agencies, and the military, among others. Privacy and confidentiality of genetic information.
Also, psychological impacts and stigmatization due to individual genetic differences, reproductive issues, including adequate informed consent for complex and potentially controversial procedures, use of genetic information and reproductive decision-making and reproductive rights, clinical issues including the education of doctors and other health service providers, patients, and the general public in genetic capability, scientific limitations, and social risks, uncertainty associated with gene tests for susceptibilities and complex conditions such as heart disease, linked to multiple genes and gene-environment issues.
The ELSI research program supports examinations and investigations of the ethical, legal, and social implications of genetic research. ELSI seeks to inform the development of policies and programs to address those implications in order to maximize the benefits of scientific research while minimizing the potential of social, personal, and physiological harm. Established in 1990, the ELSI research program is currently the largest supporter of medical ethics research in the federal government.
Wow. In addition to the scarcity of genetic specialists relative to the potential demand for genetic testing, there are other reasons why professionals should be involved in genetic testing. First, few people have sufficient understanding of genetics to recognize whether they or their children have an increased risk for an inherited disease. Therefore, healthcare professionals who provide the most care for people have the responsibility to determine whether high-risk situation is present. Second, healthcare providers and nurses who visit periodically are in excellent position to elect this risk. Electing the risk by family and past health history, once the risk is known, non-genetic professionals such as nurses should be able to point someone in the right direction for genetic testing. With the proper training and adequate knowledge of test validity, disease, and mutation frequencies, in an ethic groups whom they provide care, primary care providers and other non-genetic specialists such as nurses can and should be the one that offer predictive genetic tests to at-risk individuals.
In summary, laws and regulations protect our patients from being discriminated and violated. Laws such as HIPAA and GINA protect our patients' information, including genetic testing. Insurance companies or employers cannot request genetic testing to change policies or hiring. Genetic testing is expanding greatly. We must be the ones to learn about these laws and restrictions in order to successfully protect and care for our patients. Legality may not be the most fun thing to learn, but it is important in caring for our patients and protecting yourselves from violations.
Thanks for listening, and stay classy! Here are our references.